What's up, everybody? It's Stunna back with another video. I want to thank you guys on watching my last few videos and keeping up and showing love as usual. Now I'm about to react to 8 NBA players who have gone broke very quickly, and I feel like this is educational at the same time as interesting, because I want to see who the 8 NBA players who went broke very quickly, and at the same time when you guys, because you guys that are watching right now, and hopefully you guys are doing well, you guys are gonna get some money in your hands, and you want to make sure you know what not to do and what to do to get that money back or not to lose that money at all. So you're about to jump into it right now. 3, 2, 1.
NBA players, especially at the turn of the century, have made astronomical amounts of money.
LeBron,
millions
for sure,
upon tens of millions, sometimes even
$1 billion
hundreds of
deal
millions.
with Nike lifetime.
You would think that they'd be set for life.
AP.
That they'd accumulate enough wealth for their families to be good forever, to be passed down from generation to generation, to make sure their future family members will live comfortably.
No cap.
Unfortunately, as we all know, that's not the case. Plenty of people are not responsible. In fact, most of them aren't. Not just athletes, but most upper-class folks in general. According to NASDAQ, 70% of families lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% lose it all by the third generation. Things like poor management, poor life choices and decisions and investments, and not enough guidance in their lives. All of these things affect NBA players as well. In fact, 60%
no cap, like, I feel like people have to put respect on NBA players' name. They're human too. They make mistakes. You would clown them and stuff, but at the same time, you about to sit here and react and not sympathize over what mistakes they made, but learn from them and support them, even though they did make a big mistake and lost all their money. And it's crazy how people by second generation lose so much money, and the third generation have no money at all from a person that's worked so hard to provide.
Broke within 5 years of retirement. Pretty freaking crazy. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's talk about 8 NBA players who lost all of their money in their own interesting way.
It's his video.
How did they manage to lose it all? And what's been going on with their lives today? Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Number 8, Antoine Walker. Three-time All-Star, $108 million earned throughout his career. Walker was well known among basketball circles. Even before entering the NBA, he was an absolute stud in college, and the 6th overall pick in the legendary '96 class. But just 2 years after retiring, Walker filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2010. What happened? Well, a bunch of things. Growing up poor, Walker wanted him and all his family and friends to live an extravagant lifestyle. He'd spend loads of money on cars, on jewelry, houses, not just for himself, but also a huge number of his friends. Walker apparently helped approximately 30 other people move into better situations.
30 people? I bet them 30 people weren't hitting his phone before he was in the NBA. And all that stuff he bought, the cars, the jewelry, you're probably gonna see this a lot through the video. Like, all that stuff is all materialistic stuff. Like, you can't do anything with that stuff. You can't. Ain't that important. Like, go invest in houses or stocks or different things that you like to do. Like, or if you want to flip the cars, like, do something like that. But you buy anxiety cars, you're not flipping no anxiety car. Like, even with jewelry, like, jewelry is not an investment. It's a liability.
And freely gave them cash without even making them pay him back. When addressing this, he stated, "I gave them whatever they wanted and spoiled them. You can't do that. It ended up being an open ATM throughout my career. I created a very expensive lifestyle. That's how you lose your wealth real bad at the beginning." To make matters worse, he retired around the same time as the 2008 recession, so his real estate firm went downhill and he had to pay $20 million to the banks.
Damn.
To add on to that even further, Walker also filed false checks and had to pay millions in gambling debts too. As you can tell, it's no surprise that he lost it all, but he used his tragic story as a way to educate others.
As he should.
Nowadays, he's a spokesman for young athletes, traveling to universities to educate them to not make the same mistakes he did. Despite his struggles, it's cool to see him turn it into something positive. Number 7. Larry Johnson.
Antoine
You might
Walker.
recognize him
Everything
for
else
his
for a
dominance
reason, so.
in Charlotte, or his iconic 4-point play in New York, or his appearance in Space Jam. Johnson made over $83 million through NBA salaries. But by 2015, he filed for bankruptcy. What drained most of his cash was due to child support payments.
Damn.
Larry has 5 children with 4 different women. Or at least that's what we know. It could be more.
It's okay, bro. Hey, bro. You don't got more baby mothers in NBA.
This issue came to light when one of his baby mamas, Laura Tate, wanted Johnson to pay $900,000 in child support that he owed.
Damn.
But
That's like
Johnson
Dr. Dre
couldn't
wife.
pay it,
Jeez, wow.
and even tried to get Tate to abort her baby a long time ago. A few years later, he also skimped out on a $2,700 dentist bill in 2017. He couldn't even pay for that either. Fortunately, the Knicks gave him a chance and hired him as a business operations representative. So he's back to being part of the NBA scene, but this time behind the curtains. Number 6. Eric Strickland.
To be honest,
You probably have never heard of him.
I don't know.
Strickland was an undrafted player of the 96 class and went on to have a solid 8-year career, where he earned $13 million. But what's interesting was how he lost all that money. Strickland is a good example of why you should not let a family member or close friend handle your finances, and instead, you should find someone with actual experience. Strickland's father managed his money and used it to buy a plot of land on sale for $1.8 million.
What you put there?
Apparently, according to, quote, a friend of a friend, he said it was appraised at $3 million, so this was a good deal, right? No, it turns out that appraisal was fake, and it wasn't worth nearly as much as the price he bought it for.
Damn.
Along with many other bad investments from his family members, Strickland quickly went bankrupt and lost everything he earned. For an undrafted player to live out his dream and then lose everything? That's gotta hurt. Number 5. Latrell Sprewell. I'm sure you've all heard of the legendary quote, "I've got a family to feed." Well, it looks like that became the reality. In 2004, Sprewell turned down a 3-year, $21 million contract because he felt he was worth way more than that. But after rejecting it, he didn't get any other significant offers. Despite making nearly $100 million over his career, his negative attitude and his overall incompetence when it came to money management shouldn't be any surprise. In 2007, he walked out on his own family, and he got sued for $200 million for doing that.
Sued from your
A
own
few months
family,
later, his
family,
yacht
for
got
real.
repossessed because he couldn't pay for it.
Damn.
And he couldn't pay his $1.5 million mortgage on his first mansion either. In 2009, he lost his second mansion as well, and also owed $3 million in back taxes.
Damn, he got hit
So,
hard.
as of 2015, he got no home, no family, and rents out an apartment like most middle-class residents.
Damn.
I guess he should have accepted that $21 million offer back in 04.
3 year, 21 million. You should have took that. That's like a deal for Lonzo, the way he be playing sometimes. Or Patrick Beverly.
Number 4, Derek Coleman. Coleman's destruction of wealth was quite different than the norm.
What the fuck
He
is
wasn't a
this?
huge spender on luxury goods, he wasn't a gambler, he wasn't a bad family man. But what he did do was invest the majority of his $87 million into development projects in Detroit. He grew up there, but in the 90s and early 2000s, the city was falling off hard. To revitalize Detroit, Coleman's desire to invest in the city clouded his judgment. According to his lawyer, Mark Burke, he stated, Mr. Coleman was focused on investing in various communities throughout the city of Detroit by developing real estate, creating jobs, and revitalizing business opportunities. But due to the state of the economy, including the decline in the real estate market, Mr. Coleman's investments could not be sustained. This was also around the time of the '08 recession as well. Some of those investments included Hilton hotels and fast food chains, but he just couldn't capitalize on those, as it was a hard time for the entire country, and people weren't moving into Detroit as quickly as he hoped. While most of his wealth has vanished, Coleman still lives in Detroit, not living a luxurious life, but still content with what he's learned and what he's lost.
Charles Barkley died.
Number 3, Dennis Rodman.
This the GOAT. This the GOAT right here. This the GOAT. Him right there.
Since Rodman's career was in the 80s and 90s, the salary back then wasn't as high, but he still managed to make $27 million. It was a lot back then. I mean, it's still a lot today, but players of his caliber make way more nowadays. His loss of wealth wasn't anything strange, it was the usual. Child support, luxury spending, partying a lot, living a lavish lifestyle. Earrings, but to add on to that, he got scammed.
Weird dressing.
Do you guys know of Peggy Fulford? She was a close friend of Rodman who managed to build a sports management business with him as a client, along with many others, including other NBA and NFL players. She called herself a financial advisor, and eventually, Peggy was given control of Rodman's bank account. Basically, she was involved in a massive scandal with herself at the center. At one point, she controlled 85 different bank accounts of famous athletes and celebrities, as she would move money from one account to another and spend money liberally and making herself rich. She was laundering millions through fake shell companies, but was eventually caught and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Damn.
Unfortunately, Rodman was a victim of the scam and lost millions from that alone. It also doesn't help that he was involved in various crimes in recent years. DUI arrests, assaults, theft were only the surface of his issues. Number 2, Scottie Pippen.
Since he was young anyway.
While Pippen did not go completely broke, he still lost the majority of his NBA earnings.
How your right-hand man become broke? Why is he on here, Michael Jordan? I thought this was your man. The man you got the 6 rings with. Whatever. How is he broke? Huh? How does that work? LeBron would never.
One time, he purchased a $4 million jet that didn't even work, because he forgot to get...
Did y'all hear that? He bought a $4 million jet. He went and bought a $4 million jet. Didn't work. Nigga turned the key, nigga. That shit ain't starting up. Finessed again, bro. What's up with all these players getting finessed for $4 million? How you get finessed for $4 million? That's crazy. LeBron would never have people. LeBron will trade you off the team, but he'll make sure you're getting that money and you want an alright team.
Someone to inspect
leave you stranded.
Another time, he sued his own management firm, claiming that his losses from bad real estate investments were entirely their fault and not his own. This included a $3 million investment in Chicago, which ultimately failed, and Pippen lost most of that money. For a guy as talented and well known as Pippen, you'd expect him to be, relaxing, basking in his riches, but instead, due to his enormous losses, he had to accept a job at ESPN as an analyst.
Damn,
now, he has to continue see him there to get his perspective on the 90s and playing with MJ, but it's not something that he wanted to do, especially in his 50s.
Tired of that.
And number 1, Allen Iverson.
The wave creator for NBA players. Braids. Back in 2000, the baggy shirts, baggy pants. What? Reebok. Hats, dressing before the games. Come on. Come on.
Iverson made about $250 million in his NBA career, combining his salary and off-court endorsements. He completely breezed through that money. Granted, he does have a deal with Reebok that pays him $800,000 per year until he dies, but it's still a huge fall-off compared to how much he lost. In 2012, he told a judge that his yearly income was $800,000, but his yearly expenses were roughly $4 million.
Damn.
Maybe he's not completely broke now, but he'll get there pretty fast at this rate. Even Reebok might not save him. Iverson's basic monthly costs include over $30,000 in clothes, restaurants, and groceries. And sometimes, just like Antoine Walker, he would compulsively buy everything for his friends and family. Not only that, but Iverson apparently didn't trust any banks, and instead keep his money stored in garbage bags around his house. This led to numerous attempts at robbery, and even Iverson himself stated that he didn't keep track of his finances, so he wasn't sure if money ever got stolen or anything. During his prime, Iverson turned it up 10 notches, and was always infamous for his ridiculous spending habits. According to Matt Barnes, he would drop $30,000 to $40,000 at strip clubs every weekend. One time, he even forgot where he parked his car, so instead of looking for it, he bought a new one. Nowadays,
oh my god, I never heard no stuff. I never heard nothing like that in my life, ever. You know how crazy that sounds? You can't find your car, so you go buy another one. And the hoops, I gotta get you verified with all these facts. If this is true, he putting his money in bags and garbage bags, and he buying new cars just because he can't find where he parked at. That's wild.
He's just floating by now, and while I doubt he'll ever be homeless or anything due to his safety net, the amount of money he lost was still absolutely insane.
That shit hurt it.
Anyway, that's all, folks. Those were 8 NBA players.
That's the list right there of all the 8 NBA players. The only one I wasn't surprised was Allen Iverson, because I know personally that he went broke, and that's like probably the only NBA player I knew that went broke the quickest, the fastest. Scottie Pippen was a surprise. Dennis Rodman low-key wasn't surprised. He had too much. He was too involved with the outside world when he was playing basketball, and he had little. He been bad his whole life type shit. Antoine Walker, Larry Johnson, like Sprewell. I heard these names before, but I never would have known they been broke and went broke very quickly. That's a surprise to me. As you can see, most of them had their downfall on putting their trust in people that's not even certified to run a business, run your money, and run different parts of your life financially. So you can't do that. You gotta get somebody that's certified and know what they doing, and they have a resume behind them that shows that they know what they're doing. Especially if you're getting millions of dollars like the NBA players. And to also watch out for the leeches that's in your family, because once you get rich, that mindset that your family had before is not in the same, or the friends you had before is not the same. If you do have the same people, keep them around, but don't be throwing out millions of dollars for them to become leeches. Show them the ropes and teach them before giving them money and just let them go. There's a saying for that. It's like don't catch a 100 fish and give it to somebody, teach them how to fish so they can get their own 100 fish. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I might have just came up with that. It was tough, I know. That's the end of the video though. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys have learned, because this is very important financially and mentally to know who's around you. So that's it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Stay humble.